Alright, we're going to clean some carbs. This Yamaha blew up the rear oil line, which is zip tied from the factory, came off. The front, same. Four on top of the intake, the carbs. All right, we got 10 millimeters holding the carbs in, and there are Allen's 2 in the middle holding the carbs to the intake. It's the bit I use. All right, we're going to cut all the zip ties now. On the carbs, the bottom is always the intake, the top is always the return. If you follow it from the fuel filter down to the intake, you always remember where it goes. First thing I do is check the accelerator pump. You can hear it. You can see gas squirting out. We'll pull this gasket back. To the Allens on the bottom, same size we used earlier. We'll check the butterflies. A lot of times these will be bent if the ski is backfired. Remove the plate. Remember which side the tab's on. Gasket looks okay. This is a lifesaver on carburetors. Alright, front of the carb is the jetting side. The rear of these are the fuel pump block. pulse comes from the crankcase. Into a diaphragm. This diaphragm will flex. Flexing, pulsing action will open and close the check valve. Clear gasket, the bottom. Sealing gasket over the top. The majority of the skis with low fuel pressure, this diaphragm will either be cracked or it will have a crease under one of the edges, which will cause the gasket to not seal. You won't create fuel pressure. This one looks okay. If this clear diaphragm has a crease, it won't work properly. It has to be flush so it can flex. Over time, this area will be pushed in. You'll see creases around the edges. Inside the carburetor, fuel pump block is the filter. And that is all we need to do to this side, unless it's dirty. Diaphragms, they like to crease, they get brittle. Once they get brittle and hard, they do not flex anymore. And those will have to be replaced. Needle and seat. A lot of times this will be poking up, it needs to be flush. And just press it down with your finger, make it flush. These two screws are always impacted in. A lot of the carbs that come through, those are stripped. There's another diaphragm, a clear one, it's a check valve. This carb's extremely clean. Nothing inside the jets, no tarnish. I'm not going to pull it. Alright, next step, we're going to check pop-off pressure. And I'll explain that in a minute. That's going to make sure our needle and seat's sticking, or not sticking, not leaking, holding pressure. Needle and seat leaks, it'll fill the motor up with gas. These filters are clean and clear. You can see through them. You can reuse them. Diaphragms, wipe them off, clean them off, inspect them, make sure there's no holes, creases. These were replaced earlier this year. If I was rebuilding these, I wouldn't put these back in with the deposits on the diaphragms. It's important to get these 4 screws on the back of the fuel pump sealed tight. Otherwise, you won't build fuel pressure. A lot of times a Phillips or a flathead won't get the screws tight enough. Take a small set, pliers, put a little extra tightness on them. Now for pop-off. Alright, so we're going to check pop-off pressure. So, the important thing is the pop-off's not way too high or way too low, and it's not leaking down. You can look up the specs online, see what your carb's supposed to be at. First thing we'll do is we'll check to see when the needle and seat release. And it's holding at 45. No drop. And pop-off's over 60 pounds on this one so far. 65. Well, I was wrong. Pop-off's supposed to be above 70 on this one, which it's at. So we're going to put it back together. This side doesn't have to be torqued down. Just needs to be tight. Obviously these 2 posts need to go side by side, so if you get confused, I'll check the low speed jet. Low speed's always low on the body. It's got an L beside it. High speed's on the other side. We'll set these at 2. half, whole, half, whole turn. Should be right around 1. A lot of times we'll have a protective cap over it also. You don't have to put the caps back over here. All right, next we're going to clean the outsides of the bodies up, slap them back on.